Hi everybody, welcome back to Small Caliber Arms Review. I'm Richard, and today we're going to take a look at another 350 Legend. It is almost that time of year. It's hunting season again in Ohio, or pretty close to it, and we're going to take a look at the Savage Axis 2. Now this is going to be some of the least expensive rifles you can get with the Accu trigger on it. This is a bolt action rifle. It does have an external box magazine. I think it's like a 3-round or something like that. And I've got a Vortex Crossfire 2 scope I'm going to put on it. And then we're going to get it out on the range and see how it does. Now last year I did a video on the Mossberg Patriot in 350 Legend. And 350 Legend is a caliber that is becoming popular in several states because of the restrictions on rifles you can use to hunt deer. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing mounted up with the scope and everything. I'm going to put a little Loctite on these bases, get them put on the rifle, and then we're going to get it out there on the range and give it a shot and see how it does. All right, now the Savage Axis 2 that I bought did not come with scope bases on it, or ring bases, whatever you want to call them. But I'm going to go ahead and put these on. Now these are Nikon bases, and I'm putting a Vortex scope on it. So I kind of got a mishmash of different manufacturers' parts on here, but it will get the job done. And you got to watch with the Crossfire scope because it's kind of a short base on this thing, or a short distance between the ocular and the objective, so you've only got so much room there, and the scope bases mount pretty far apart on here. So what I've got is I've got some bases that will move my rings. I can move them in as close as possible, and in fact I got to switch that one around because I need that to be farther towards the front. So before my Loctite sets up, I'm going to go ahead and turn it around. Because these bases, you can only mount the rings in certain places where those notches are on there. So we will get this on there the right way this time. And these do have torque screws on them, which I like a little better than I do Allen wrenches, Allen head keys, because these tend to slip a little less. Now you're going to want to make sure they're snug, but you don't want to over tighten them because they are a very fine thread screw, and it can cause you some problems if you strip these out. And the Loctite I'm putting on here is the Loctite Blue. Now you got to watch, this is medium strength, and it's for like 1/4 to 3/4 inch bolts, and it is, you can remove it with hand tools, and you don't want to put anything, I guess, too secure on there, because just in case in the future if you ever need to change them or something, it'll make it a little bit easier. And it does not take much. Just enough to hit the threads a little bit will do all it needs to do. Definitely want to make sure you don't cross thread those two. All right, now we got that on there. Now the bases I got are Vortex bases, or rings. So we'll get those on there. Now these have a screw on the back side of them there, and I like to put it, since I'm right-handed, the bolt is this is a right-handed rifle, I like to put it on the left-hand side so it's kind of out of my way. And right now we're just gonna kind of snug them a little bit, and then we can put the scope up there. Now it does not give you very much room to adjust things on here. You can go backwards about, you probably got about a 1/4 inch adjustment on it, forward and backward. So it's not much. You need to make sure you need to hope the eye relief is correct anyways. And then we'll get the tops on here. And again, we're just going to give them just a gentle snugging. We don't want them tight at this point. Just run them down till they touch, and kind of touch evenly too. You'll see a little gap in between there. You want to make sure that gap is pretty close to being even on both sides of it. That's pretty close right there. All right, they're just gently snugged in. Now we're going to pull the bolt out. And to pull this bolt out, it's a pretty easy job. All you do is pull the trigger back and push this lever down right here, and the bolt pulls right out of the back of it there. Then we're going to put our little Weaver scope leveling kit in here. Now I've noticed that this kind of wants to bounce around a little bit in there because the magnet will want to stick it to the top sometimes. But all you got to do is get that leveled up on there, and then take the other one and stick it right to the top up there. These have magnets in them. Of course, this being an aluminum housing, but there is enough steel in there for the magnet to catch onto it. And then we want to rotate this till the two levels match up. Once you've got it matched up, you can go ahead and tighten them down a little bit. And watch, because when you're torquing these down, it will rotate the scope just a little bit on its own. That looks pretty good right there. All right, once you got it snugged down a little bit, take and shoulder it, put your cheek, get your cheek right where you want it, and make sure your eye relief is okay. And that looks pretty good for me. This has got a pretty generous eye relief on it. So I can be back from it quite a ways there and still get a good, crisp, clear focus on the reticle in it. Go ahead and snug everything down once you've got to that point. I just barely snug these because if they're on the bases a little bit crooked, I don't want them twisting on the scope at all. So I'll go ahead and get those tightened up, and then we'll take it out and try it out. Now, you definitely don't want to over torque them. It only takes a few inch-pounds to get them where they need to be, and that's all it takes to get them tight. Now we're going to load this thing up with some Winchester. These are Deer Season XP 350 Legends, 150 grain, and it claims on the ballistic table on the box here says that the velocity at the muzzle is 2,325 feet per second, and they recommend zeroing it. At least the chart on here shows it zeroed at 150 yards. We're going to zero it at 100 yards. Just because that's the way my range is set up, and that's the way I typically range things or zero things out there. So this chart isn't going to do me a whole lot of good if I zero at 100, but the chart on here will give you, if you zero at 100, what your drop is at 100, 50, 200, 250, and 300. But we're going to go ahead and zero it at 100 because that's what I like to do. The magazine, let's go ahead and open these up and take a look at them. All right, there's the 350 Legend. It is a straight wall cartridge. These have a polymer ballistic tip on them. And the magazine is just a little bitty thing. So we'll push them in and we'll see what the capacity is on this thing. You gotta watch this magazine because they want to tip in there a little bit on that follower. So when you push them in, you have to push them in kind of towards the front, which makes it want to nose down a little bit, and then it causes the back end to still be pushed up some. And I was able to get 5 rounds in that magazine. It kind of surprised me. Looks like a pretty small magazine, but I was able to get 5 of them in there, and they're not overly tight. Still got a little bit of room in there, not enough to get another round in it, but it looks good to me. We'll get the bolt put back in it. I've already taken the bolt out and cleaned it. I've taken the action out of the stock, and I went ahead and used the little Trigger adjusting tool to go ahead and lighten up the trigger pull on a little bit. I don't have a trigger scale, so I couldn't tell you what it is, but the nice thing about the Trigger is they are adjustable, and I have pulled the trigger a few times in it, and it's pretty light trigger pull. It's nothing crazy hard. So, I mean, I like them. I like all the Axis rifles, especially the ones with the Trigger. We'll go ahead and get the bolt put back in it, and to put it in, it's the same way as you did when you removed it. You have to pull the trigger back and push down on that lever on the side of it, and it slides right in. And actually, it's a pretty smooth bolt in there. Not the smoothest, but it's not bad at all. Now, it's got a 2-position safety on the tang here, and it doesn't move very far, but it's a pretty positive click, at least when you've taken it off safe. So when you put it on safe, you're covering up the little red dot in the back there for the most part. Push it forward and it's ready to fire. Now we're going to go ahead and put the magazine in there. We are not going to chamber around here in the gun room. We'll wait till we get out on the range and do it. Now putting it in with the bolt closed is going to be somewhat difficult because it's pushing up against the bottom of the bolt. But it does lock in there pretty secure. All right, we got the Savage Axis 2 out here on the range, 350 Legend. I've got the Vortex Crossfire. This is a 3 to 9 by 40 scope on it. I've got a target set up at 100 yards. A couple other things I wanted to notice about this is it does have studs on it, so you can put a sling on it. And I just put a cheap one on there I had laying around. The buttstock is adjustable. There is a piece you can take out of here. There's 2 screws in the back of it behind that rubber butt pad on there. You can take those 2 screws out and you can take this piece out, and that'll shorten your length of pull up. Now, one of the reasons this was even developed is because it's a softer shooting gun than some of the other larger calibers you would use for deer hunting. So younger shooters or smaller shooters of smaller frame might not like that large recoil of the 450 Bushmaster or the 4570, the 444 Marlin. Some of those bigger rounds really got a kick to them. This has got a softer recoil. It's a little less intimidating, so it's geared more towards I guess smaller frame shooters, or just if you don't want to carry one of those great big guns out there to go deer hunting, this is a perfect choice for it. We're going to set it up in the Caldwell Hydra sled here and rack around in it and give it a shot at the target up there after I get the eyes and ears on and see how it does. Now, I've still got to zero the scope in, so it's not there yet. We'll see what it does. Hopefully I'm at least on paper at 100 yards. I tell you what, I'm going to take the magazine out, take the bolt out of it, and bore sight it. All right, now, there is no mystery to bore sighting. It's exactly what it sounds like. You look down the bore and see where the bore is pointing, then you adjust your scope to where the bore was sighted at. That's bore sighting. It's not high tech, it's pretty low tech. There are some lasers you can get and put in there, different caliber lasers that will go inside the gun, or they got some that mount right in the end of the barrel. You can put those in there too. But traditional bore sighting is looking through the bore, adjusting your scope. Piece of cake. All right, I've bore sighted it to where I think it should be. I'll go ahead and get it loaded up. And like I said, once you've got the bolt back and you put the magazine in, it loads in there a lot easier. Got a round chamber. We're going to give it a try, see how it does. All right, there's the first one. We'll do a 3-shot group, and then we'll see where they're at and see where we'll do our adjustments after that. All right, let's go up there and take a peek at the target, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, apparently my bore sighting was really bad. 1, 2, 3. I am probably about 10 inches low and probably about 3 inches to the right. So at least I know where I'm at. I can adjust it from there. That's terrible. I guess one of the things I didn't compensate for was when you look straight through the bore and I'm looking at the target directly in the center of the bore, I'm not allowing for the bullet drop. Now, a bullet starts dropping as soon as it comes out of the barrel. Gravity has effect on it no matter how fast it's moving. So what I got to do is I got to compensate for that drop. So it looks to me like it's dropped about 10 inches in 100 yards. That's a pretty good drop. It's a pretty heavy bullet too, and it's not extremely high velocity. So we'll get it adjusted and then give it another 3-shot group. All right, on your turret on the top, there's an arrow and it says U and D, up and down. What that means is when you do up, it means you want to move your point of impact up. I need to move the point of impact up about 10 inches, and this is 1 click equals a quarter MOA. 1 MOA is 1 inch at 100 yards. Close enough anyways. So I need to bring it up about, if I'm going 10 inches at 100 yards, I need to bring it up 40 clicks. So we'll give it a try and see how it does. All right, there was 40 clicks, and I need to get it, oh, what did I say, about 3 inches to the left. So same thing, there's a L and an R on here. I need to bring my point of impact to the left about, 12 clicks. All right, we'll give that a try and see. We'll see what it looks like. And we'll load up, let's see, I should have 2 rounds left in there. We'll go ahead and load the magazine up with 5 rounds, or at least 1 more anyways. so that I have 3 rounds in there. Yeah, I can see that impact. That's a lot better. I think I might have pulled that one a little bit. I'm a little far to the left. I'm going to go ahead and take a 4th shot. Of course, I guess I need to put another round in there because I only had 3 in it. We're going to take a 4th shot at that one. Then we'll go up and look at it. All right, let's go see that 4-shot group and see how it did. All right, there's my 4-shot group. That was my first one, which was absolutely great. My second one, my third one hit way out there, and I did manage to pull it back a little bit with the 4th one, but I'm still running about 1.5 inches high, and I'm slightly drifting off to the left there, and that could be me on the trigger pull or something, but we'll go ahead and give it, we'll give it about 6 clicks down. Then we'll go ahead and go for the life-size deer target and see if I'll be able to take a deer. All right, we're gonna give it 6 clicks down. It's a 1/4 MOA per click. So we're gonna go down. That's where I wanna move the point of impact. All right, that should be 1.5 inches at 100 yards. And I think we're gonna go ahead and move to the right. I'm just gonna go about 4 clicks to the right. Now, they're not very audible clicks or tactile clicks. You don't feel them real well. They are there, and if you listen very carefully, you can hear them, but not the most positive of clicks. We're going to go ahead and load up another 5 rounds in there, and then we're going to go ahead and take a shot at the life-size deer target there and see how that does. All right, like I said, loading these magazines is kind of a pain because you can't push it straight down in there. You have to push it in like that and then slide it back. So when you put your next one in, you're pretty close to the front there. So it causes the back to tip up or the front to tip down. And you got to watch it when you get the next one in. You might want to give it a little tap, make sure they're back in there. You can assist a little bit, but it's kind of hard to get your fingers in there. And there's our 5 rounds. All right, there it is. That is the 5-shot group right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know which order they were in. You can see it in the close-up there, but this is the Savage Axis II, and it is, to me, it's a pretty good rifle, and the caliber is plenty enough to take deer with. It's not bad at all. Hey, if you get a chance, go ahead and look at the first link in the description below. That's a link to my Patreon account. If you could, go ahead and click it. Become a patron if you can. I also put some links in there for different products I use on Amazon. Click on any of those links. That also helps out my channel. And I'm going to go ahead and get this thing in and get it cleaned up because the sun is fading fast and it's starting to get a little cool, getting closer to deer season. Thanks for watching Small Caliber Arms Review. And calibered in, or chambered in, 350 Legend. Let's try that all over again. Calibered in. Now, it does not come with bases, at least this one didn't. So before you leave the gun store, make sure you get a pair of them, unlike I did. Set our scope up there. Well, son of a...